Georgia Southern and James Madison. Georgia Southern and James Madison are going to be facing each other this upcoming weekend. And it's going to be a little bit of get back. Hopefully, Georgia Southern can get some get back after being embarrassed last season. Last season, they lost to JMU 41-13. JMU has turned into a powerhouse in the Sun Belt. Excellent team. They look really, really good. The year before, we did beat them in 2022 45-38. So they kind of got our number a little bit. It was a shootout that first game since they've been in the FBS. The second game they ran us off the field, so they're coming back to Paulson. And with them coming back to Paulson, this should be a game that Georgia Southern can win. And if they win this game, they're going to propel themselves at the top of the Sun Belt East, and they're actually going to be in the driver's seat of winning this division and possibly going to the Sun Belt Championship. So the thing about this game is we need to get the running game going. In the last two times we played this team, we have not got it going. Jalen White only had 20 yards rushing that first game we played. Now, Kyle Van Treese had a phenomenal game that first game, but since they've been in the FBS, throwing for 578, which was a school record. In that second game, you can look at the second game, same thing. Jalen White only had 50 yards rushing. So now we have Jalen White. We have what's his name? OJ Arnold, Badinga. We're gonna have to try to get the running game going. Now I do believe that the passing game could be just as effective, but it all falls on the shoulders of JC French. JC French can play some good ball, but I'm kind of weary of him because he's injured, and I don't know how that's going to play out at the end of the day. Because even though they could clear him to play, I'm still not really confident with him being on the field. Right now, James Madison is a 10-point favorite, and James Madison has an excellent football team. Their quarterback, Barnett III, has thrown for 15 touchdowns, one interception. Pedway also almost at 400 yards rushing for the season at 387. And the Dollison, their receiver, is at 334 yards. This team is a pretty good team, and they have them actually favored to win, not only by 10, they got a 10-point spread, but they got the ESPN has them 72% chance to win this game, even though they're playing in Paulson. Now, one thing I will say, the fact that they're playing in Paulson does give us an advantage. We can win this game. I don't think that JMU is a better team than last year's team. Last year's team was like really good, but they're just as capable of putting up points and being as dominant as they was before. I mean, you just have to look at it. They put up 70 against UNC at Chapel Hill. They put up 63 against Ball State. I mean, we put up numbers against Ball State too. And they turn right back around to beat the Chanticleers after losing to ULM. So ULM knows how to beat them. It was a close game, 21-19, and it was on the road. So that does give us somewhat of an advantage. Like, look, they're not necessarily the same team on the road. So I mean, the last few games, showed otherwise. When you look at the UNC game, I mean, yay. But UNC was going like somewhat of a little. They're going through a little bit of issue right now. The quarterback went down and everything just tanked after that. But nevertheless, can't put nothing away from JMU. JMU beat a Power Five team, and that is to be commended. What's going to happen with us? We're going to have to find a way. We have to find a way to stymie this offense. I don't know much about the offense, to be honest with you. I just know I look at the numbers that they put up, and they look really, really good. It is very hard to get over on this team. I mean, you look at what they've done so far. They started off with 4 straight wins, won 4 out of the last 5, and statistically, I mean, they're looking pretty good as well. Like I said, their quarterback already threw for over 1,400 yards, 15 touchdowns, one interception. They got two. I mean, they got two guys that's already at 300 yards rushing. There's one thing I didn't even talk about. The quarterback is already rushed for 300 yards as well. And I mean, their rushing attack is like pretty good. So I mean, they got two other running backs that are capable as well. So we're gonna have to find a way to stop this offense. If we can find a way to stop the offense, I think we'll be just fine. Defensively, I don't know much about them defensively as well. But looking at their defense, they get after the quarterback. I mean, they got two guys already with 3 sacks on the season. They got two other guys with with 2 sacks on the season. I mean, collectively, they're at 13 sacks for the season. So with them already played 6 games, they're good for at least 2 sacks a game. So that's something that we're gonna have to worry about because our offensive line did not do that well when it came to Marshall. Marshall got around J.C. French really quick, and the main thing I will say, like I said this last game when we played against Marshall, they need to get the ball out quick, and I think with J.C. French, that's what you're gonna have to do. If you don't, you're going to have a long day. And like I said, I feel that in some cases that J.C. French was not able to get the ball out quicker. When Dexter Williams came in, it seemed like the game was slowed down for him. He was able to get the ball out quicker. There was some, slants and some digs and some other plays that they ran that catered to Dexter Williams. And in some cases, you can make the case that Dexter Williams may need to start this game. This is why I'm kind of nervous that if J.C. French is going to be playing, that's something I'm really, really worried about, because when you look at this team collectively, JMU looks like they have everything going for themselves. Now, before we get out of here, let's talk about Georgia Southern. Let's talk about what they have. Georgia Southern has a team that can play with anybody. It's not like this team is not a bad team by no means. We do have our ups and downs, but I think this team is very, it's very complete. It's a really good team that just need to take advantage of the opportunities that's given to them. You can't go all the way down the field every time you hike the ball, which it looked like J.C. French was trying to do. But nevertheless, J.C. French is 128 for 203, 13, 16, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, which is really good. But when you look at the other guy, he's already thrown 15. So the secondary going to have they're going to have to slow something down. Now, when you look at White's already at 253 yards. O.J. Arnold's also at 200 yards rushing. J.C. French was running a little bit as well, which, like I said, with him being on the field, I'm kind of nervous. Jalen White has 7 touchdowns already this season. 2 guys on the receiving side of the ball already have over 300 yards receiving. But I think, honestly, the X factor in this game who could really make a difference is 2 guys in the passing game. I think Josh Dallas and Tyler Fromm could make a difference in this game. Now, LV, he's another guy. I mean, like I said, you got like 4 or 5 guys that can make something happen on this game in this game. But they're gonna have to do something to make it happen. So they have the weapons. The only thing is you have to take advantage of every opportunity that's given. That was basically the situation against Marshall, and that's going to happen again in this. And I know that sounds like a very broad term, but when you look at what's going on, every time you go downfield, you got to get a first down. Every time you go downfield, you got to sustain a drive and get a touchdown. So you just can't say, oh, we're punting again. No, you got whatever James Madison is putting together to stop you. You got to find a way to counter it, and you have to counter it more times than you're getting stopped. So I feel like at the end of the day, to be quite honest, this game is probably the game that I could see, and I hate to say it like this. This game looks like the game that I could see Georgia Southern possibly losing, and they're going to have to fight. They're going to have to fight for the rest of the season. Hopefully that James Madison lose another one, because even you going to South Alabama, I still think that is a game that you can win as well. But you do not want to be in a situation where you're relying on other teams. You beat James Madison, that'll put them 2 games behind the Sun Belt, and you can afford to lose another one. I got Georgia Southern at this point. I do have Georgia Southern losing 3 games, but if it's the James Madison game, they're going to be behind the 8 ball, and they have to win at South Alabama. You win that game at James Madison against James Madison, you can afford to lose another one. And I'm looking at I'm looking at the schedule. The next 5 games after James Madison, all of them are winnable. Even though South Alabama has been looking good, I still feel that's a winnable game. I still feel like it. With them starting off strong and kind of sputtered at in the middle of the season, it's something that we can, we actually can make some things happen. So this is a really big game for Georgia Southern. Believe it or not, let alone what happened in the first game and the second game. This James Madison game could really spark something where Georgia Southern could go on a serious run and possibly not lose a game for the rest of the season. Yeah, and I don't want to look that far ahead, but when you look at the schedule, everything is winnable, and your biggest opponent is right ahead of you right now. And all the other ones aren't, pieces of cake, but when you do look at what James Madison has on you, and you look at the rest of the games, that's probably your biggest foe of the season or for the rest of the season. So let me know what you guys think. Think James Madison, could come in and win this game. I think that Georgia Southern, I think Georgia Southern could take this W. I think they can win this game. They get the W and they can go on a run. But if they do, they're gonna have to scrap it out if they want to win the Sun Belt. You win this game, you have one game up on James Madison. They'll have two losses in the division, and the sky's the limit for Georgia Southern. So let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna get up out of here and y'all take it easy. I'm out. Peace.